Now we're going to talk about custom number formatting, which gives you the ability to create pretty much any type of formatting that you can imagine. In order to unlock this ability, it's first necessary to understand Excel's custom number formatting code. If I open up the Control 1 menu, this Format Cells menu, tab into the Number tab, so I can move around here, and then go all the way down to Custom, you'll see some examples of what I mean. There's a certain syntax specific to custom number formatting that you need to understand. It might look alien at first, but trust me, you'll pick this up very quickly and easily. But before we get too deep into the how, let's talk about why anyone would care about custom number formatting. Aren't Excel's default formats good enough? Most of the time, the answer is yes, but there are some situations you're guaranteed to run into as a finance professional where custom number formatting is necessary. If you don't understand how to create custom number formats, you're probably going to come across as unprepared and amateurish to your coworkers. For example, we discuss how negative numbers should be displayed within parentheses, not with the minus sign. Excel gives us this default for. If we go up to number, we have that option. If we go down to currency, we also have that option. But what about percentages? For some reason, by default, Excel does not give you many options to customize your percentage format. If you're ever displaying negative percentage using the minus sign, that's going to be a red flag to anyone reviewing your work, telling them that you don't understand custom number formatting. Multiples are another example. You're going to want to show your multiples with an X after the number to indicate that it's a multiple rather than a currency or something else. But if I were to just type in 14.0x, you'll notice that this goes to the left side of the cell. And the reason for that is because Excel is interpreting this input right here as text. So if I take this and say equals that plus 10, I'm going to get an error message because you can't add 10 to a text value. The amateur solution to this is to just type in 14 in this cell, and then in the cell to the side of it, type in an X. That's a super ghetto solution, and there is a better way. Understanding custom number formatting will help you solve these problems and come across as a more advanced, trustworthy Excel user. The trick to mastering custom number formats is understanding Excel's formatting code, which you can see when you arrow down here to the custom option in your formatting menu. We're going to quickly cover decimal places, significant and insignificant digits, comma separators, spacing, incorporating text, and creating distinct formats for positive and negative numbers. It might sound like a lot, but I think you're going to get it really quickly and easily. We're going to start by learning how to add decimal places using the custom number formatting code. As you can see, this unformatted number has no decimal places. If I want to add that using custom formatting, I'll hit Control 1, open up the Format Cells menu, tab in, and then arrow down to custom, tab in one more time, and where it says type, I'm going to type 0.0 and hit enter. Now I've added one decimal place to my number. If I want to change that, I can hit Control 1 again, tap down to my custom menu, and if I want two decimal places, I can write 0.00 and hit enter. However many zeros I add is the number of decimal places I'm going to have. Easy enough. What if I add more zeros before my decimal point? If I go in here, and I tab in, and I type 00.0, and then I hit enter, that looks like it hasn't changed anything. But what if this is a 1? If it's a single-digit number, this looks funny. Excel is automatically going to add a 0 in the tens position for any number that I add in here. In my custom number formatting code, every 0 that I put into the type indicates a significant digit. That means a digit that Excel must show no matter what, even if there's not a value in that place. For our purposes, it's never going to be helpful to have a 0 to the left or a significant digit to the left. That doesn't really have a lot of meaning for us, so I can go in here and get rid of that. And this looks a little bit more normal. But what if I'm showing a number in the thousands? If I change this to 1000, it looks okay, but I'm missing something that you would normally see, which is a comma separator between the 1 and the 0. If I want to add a comma separator, I can go into my custom number format, and I could type 0,000.0. And when I hit enter, that's going to look better. My 1000 has 1000 separated between the 1 and the 0. The problem is, if I change this to 10, now I have two unnecessary significant digit zeros to the left of my 1. And obviously, this is not the format that we want to present to our coworkers or our clients. So how do you change this? How can you create a custom number format that has a comma separator when you need it, but none of those unnecessary zeros when you don't. The solution is to use Excel's formatting code to indicate insignificant digits. We want these two zeros to the left of the 1 to be insignificant. That means that if there's not a value in that place, we want them to show nothing. But if there is a value in that place, we want to be able to show a comma separator if the number is greater than 1,000. The way that we accomplish that is by going back to our custom number format and using the pound symbol for every insignificant digit. So I'm going to hit pound, comma, pound, pound, 0.0. And when I hit enter, if I have a 10, the 100s place and the 1000s place are empty. But if I change this to 1,000, I retain my comma separator between the 1 and the 0. If I want to add a currency symbol in front of this, all I do is go to my custom number formats, and I type the same thing, pound, comma, pound, pound, 0.0. And then I just type the currency symbol in front. So if I want this to be dollars, I'll type a $sign, hit enter, and there you have it. What if I want this to be a negative 1,000? Right now it's showing the minus sign, which obviously we don't want. And now is a good time to point out that with custom number formatting, you can create different formats for positive numbers, negative numbers, 0, and text. And the way that you do that is by going down to the custom option, tabbing into type, and here's how it works. The first piece of code that you type in is going to be positive numbers. Then, to tell Excel that you're moving on to the negative number format, you hit a semicolon. Then whatever code you write is going to be your negative number format. To tell Excel you're moving on to 0, you hit semicolon again, and now you have your 0 number format. One more semicolon, and now you have your text format. Let's look at an example to see exactly how this works. Let's say I want my positive numbers to have 3 decimal places. I want my negative numbers to have 3 significant digits before the decimal. I want my 0 to just say 0, and I want my text to say, this is text. So to cover this again, before my first semicolon is my positive number format. Before my second semicolon is my negative number format. Before my third is my 0 number format. And the final section is my text format. So let's hit enter here. Oops. And I'm going to add quotations around this. So if I hit enter here, my positive number has 3 decimal places. If I make this negative, it's going to have 3 significant digits to the left. If I change it to 0, it's going to say 0. And if I change it to text, it's going to say this is text. So what does this have to do with putting negatives in parentheses? Well, let's say that I want a normal currency format. So pound, comma, pound, pound, 0.0, that's going to give me a normal currency format. This is in the positive format position. So I'm going to add a semicolon. Now I'm telling Excel what I want to do for my negative number. So I'm going to write the same thing inside of parentheses, dollar, pound, comma, pound, pound, 0.0. If I don't want to do anything special for 0 or text, I can just leave it blank and hit enter. Now, if I put a positive 1,000, it looks normal. If I put a negative 1,000, it's going to be surrounded in parentheses just like I want. Now, this is really close to what we want, and it looks pretty nice, but there's one problem that you'll notice when we duplicate this a little bit. If I alternate positive and negative numbers, notice how my decimal places do not align. That's not a very good look. We want our decimal places to align. It's not a big deal, but when you're looking at a financial model and the decimal points don't align, it's one of those small pieces of detail that really changes the perception of your work. And I promise you, senior bankers will notice this. So how do you fix that? You can use custom formatting code to create an invisible space in your positive numbers so that your positive number decimal points align with your negative number decimal points. Let me show you how to do that. If I take off the parentheses here, I'm going to tab in here, and I'm going to take off that last parentheses. Now, see how my decimal places align? If I undo that and redo, you'll notice that my decimal points are off by the width of the closed parenthesis. What that means is that I need to bump up my positive numbers by the width of one parenthesis, but I don't want it to be visible. That would look bad. Like if I just go in here and I put a closed parenthesis after my positive numbers, okay, yeah, my decimals align, but this looks even worse than it looked before. What I want to do is create an invisible space that's the width of that character. So I'm going to hit Control 1. And the way that I do that is I put an underscore right here below my close parentheses. What the underscore means in Excel's custom formatting code is create an invisible space, the width of the next character. And in this case, the next character is the close parentheses. So when I hit enter, you'll see that this positive number that I just formatted right here now aligns with this negative number. I've created an invisible space to the right of the number, the same width of the parenthesis that's closing my negative number. If I go in here and add a wider character, like a capital W, it bumps it up even more, and now I'm misaligned even worse. So this is a nice little trick just to make sure that your numbers align. And obviously you wouldn't be doing this with dollars because you already have a good currency format that's default in Excel, but let's say you have 10% and negative 10%. Delete these, and I'm going to change these to percent format. So right here, I have this minus sign. I don't want that. I'm going to create a custom number format. I'm going to go in here and say 0.0%. So I have one decimal point and then a percent for my positive, and then a semicolon, and then in parentheses 0.0%. When I hit enter, my decimals are not aligned. So I'm going to go in here again. I'm going to put an underscore after that percentage saying create a space the width of the next character, and my next character is going to be a close parenthesis. Now my decimals are aligned. Finally, let's take a look at multiples. We mentioned how if you write 10.0x, this is going to be treated as text. So if I say that plus 10, it's not going to calculate because I'm telling Excel add 10 to this piece of text, which doesn't make sense. It gives me an error. I could make this 10.0 and then change that to have one decimal place and then put an X here. So that kind of works, but it's not very good looking. If I have multiples like I have right here, where they're side by side, I don't have the option because each of my columns is being used. I don't want to insert a spacer column for each of these just so that I have the X and misalign everything. So the way that I get around that is I use custom number formatting. So I'm going to go to my custom menu in here, and then I'm going to say 0.0 X. And when I hit enter, now the value that's in here is only 10. It's just a number, but when I hit enter, it's formatted with that one decimal point and the letter X after it. So now if I say equals that plus 10, I can calculate, which makes this much more useful for my financial modeling. If you're inserting a piece of text that's only one letter, like the letter X for a multiple, you don't need to do anything special. You just add it like this. If you wanted to add a longer word, so for example, if you're looking at a retail chain and you want to look at stores, you could say store 0, but if I hit enter, I'm going to get an error. The reason why I get an error is because Excel just wants me to put this in quotations. So now my text is in quotations. My number format is just 0 with no decimal. So now I can say store 10. And if I wanted a series of these, I could now create a formula saying equals that plus 1. Now I get 11. I can copy my formatting here, paste formats, and now I have store 10, store 11, and I can fill that right, so now I don't have to type out store. I can use Excel custom number formatting to do that work for me.